Hi everyone, welcome to Great Glen Yoga. My name's Rachel and today I'm going to take you through a really nourishing grounding practice that's going to be targeting into our lower body. So we're going to work on our hips, our hamstrings, into the inner thighs, a little bit into the lower back as well, and just really enjoy giving that area some attention and some rest and relaxation. So if you would like to have some props to hand, that would be really helpful. Don't worry if you haven't, there should be none of the poses that absolutely need a prop, but I will give you some ideas for variations that you can do with some of the poses if you have props to hand. So if you have any blocks, a bolster maybe, some cushions, anything that you have to hand, rolled up blankets or towels that could be used for some of the poses, that would be great. I think I'll probably use my bolster on one or two of the poses as we get further into the practice. So get nice and comfortable. We're going to start off in a seated position and we're going to begin with our legs kind of staggered in front of each other. So if you can have your legs so that your right shin is slightly in front of your left, really ground down into the sit bones, nice and relaxed. Just sort of settle into the position, shoulders down and away from the ears, and we're just going to center ourselves here to begin this practice. So you can just close down the eyes and just get into your yin yoga mind space, ready to look inwards and focus on yourself for the next little while. So we can ignore everything that's come before today, everything that comes after, and just have this time of relaxation here together. Nice big deep breaths in and out of the nose. Just taking this time to think about what's brought you onto the mat today, what you're hoping to get out of this practice. And we're going to begin today with a really nice gentle fold forward just from this position here. So as I said before, right leg just in front of the left. Just get those sit bones nicely grounded into the mat, and then we're just going to walk our hands forward and see how far we get. So depending on time of day, how you're feeling today, all of that will dictate how far forward you come. But we're going to allow our bodies just to drape forward really slowly and gently. And it may be that you stay up on the palms like this. You might be able to go a little further down onto the forearms. Once you've kind of got to where you want to be, just relax the head and neck down. We're not thinking about straight spine here. Around in the upper back, the neck is exactly what we're looking for, just to rest and relax that area of the body. Keeping those sit bones grounded, and you'll start to just feel this into the right hip, the right glute, maybe a little bit into the right knee as well. And just go as far as is comfortable. We're not chasing pain here. We're looking for a little bit of sensation, but we're not looking for discomfort. And when you've found the place that feels right for you, just relax. So to come out of this pose, we're just going to gently walk the hands back and come back up to our seated position. Just take a second here just to get used to being seated upright again. And before we move across and do this forward fold on the other side, we're going to come into a side bend. So you can keep your left foot just nestled in where it is, and we're going to take the right foot out to the side. So just gently stretch that right leg out to the side of you. So we're kind of looking for our knees to be headed away from each other. So that nice kind of V shape almost with the two knees. And then we're going to come over into a lovely side stretch on to this right leg. So you can just start to take the right hand down the leg towards the foot, and this can be as far as you want to go. So if you get to kind of the top of the shin and this feels good for you, stay there. If you want to take it a little further down towards the foot, please do so. And then we're going to take this left arm all the way over the head, stretching those left fingertips out to the right and just feeling that wonderful stretch right the way from the left sit bone all the way down to the ends of the left fingertips. And as well as that side stretch, you should also feel that lovely stretch into the right leg as well, into the right hamstring. And just let the head hang heavy. There's nothing to do here. And if you'd like to, you can take this left hand just back behind you. So it can either maybe sit even just here on the crease of the left hip. Just you can rest it in the small of your back, or you can take it almost round to the side of the right hip crease, depending on anatomy, how long your arms are. I've got quite short arms. So take it as far round as you want. And what that's doing is just encouraging us to keep that left shoulder opened up so that we get the full benefit of this side stretch. And we can also just feel that pull now from the left shoulder up to the side of the neck. And we'll just spend a little bit of time in this really lovely shape. And just soft, gentle breaths. So to come out of this side stretch, what I really like to do is just release that left arm and just start to almost use that as a counterweight to bring the body back to an upright position. And you should feel that the effects of that stretch all the way down the left side of the body, up through the waist, up into the shoulder, and also onto the left side of the neck. That can just feel really lovely. So just feel the difference there on the sides of the body before we move across to the other side. So we can bring that right leg back in, and And we're going to switch the staggering of the legs for our fold. So we're bringing the left leg in front of the right this time around. And just again, take a second here to settle in to that change of position. Shoulders down and away from the ears, sit bones nicely grounded. And just, as I say, feel the difference in the sides of the body before we repeat those poses on the second side. So we're going to come down into our fold first and foremost. So again, really gentle, no pulling, no pushing our way down. Just going to take the hands out in front of us and start to walk them forwards for as far as feels comfortable for you. So if you want to stay up in the palms like this, or you could even be here, that's absolutely fantastic. If you want to take it a little bit further, you can come down onto the forearms. Some of you might even find that you have your forehead much closer to the ground. But again, this is all about rest, relaxation, not pushing ourselves too far. So go where feels right for you today. And then when you're ready, just bow the head, the neck, relax down and enjoy this lovely fold. So on this side, you'll feel the effects of this pose into the left hip, the left hamstring, the left knee, maybe a little bit as well, the left side of the lower back. Just relax into this. I don't know about you, but this is exactly what I needed this morning. Just a bit of time to focus inward, focus on you. And let's start to just ease out of this fold. As before, just letting the hands be our guide to take us back into that seated position. And we'll come into that side bend on the left side. So we're going to take the left leg out nice and long to the side, keep the right foot snuggled in to the inner thigh on the left leg, and just take a moment to just get settled there, sit bones nice and grounded, and then we're going to just allow the left hand to glide along the leg as far as it will go for you. And then we'll take the right arm over the head and really stretch out through those right fingertips. Just feeling that lovely expansion across the right side of the body. Really stretching into the waist, along the arm, along the neck, and right to the ends of the fingertips. And as before, we can just take that right arm back down, either to the crease of the hip, the small of the back, a little bit further towards the left hip crease, just to encourage that right shoulder to stay nice and open so we can get the full benefit of this posture. Head and neck nice and loose, and just enjoy the feeling of this shape. Start to gently come out of this posture, using that arm that was behind the back again, just to guide us back up to a seated position. So we'll just bring the left leg in again and just take a couple of breaths here. Just now that we've done both sides of those two postures, just feel the effects of those different shapes on the body, how different sides of the body will now feel, different parts of the body. And we're going to come on to our bellies for the next pose. So just lower yourself gently down onto your mat. And we're going to come into a variation of reclined butterfly, but we're going to do it this way round. So our legs are going to be in a slightly unusual position than we would normally expect, because we're on our stomachs rather than on our backs. So widen your knees out to about the same width as your mat, maybe slightly further, and then bring the soles of your feet together. So feet to touch as we would if we were in reclined butterfly lying on our backs. But this time, obviously, we're on our fronts. So soles of the feet come together. And then depending on your anatomy, how flexible your hips are, whether you've done a pose like this before, all of those things will depend on kind of how far your feet can come to the ground. But start to just, you might need to widen the knees a little further as well. Start to just bring the feet as close to the floor as you can manage. Some of you will find that the feet kind of quite effortlessly come down to the ground. Others will find that this is about as far as they can go. Some will go a little lower. So just wherever is right for you. This isn't a pose where we're going to try and push to get a particular shape. Just get to where feels right and feels comfortable for you. And then we're just going to rest our forehead on our hands and just enjoy this slightly unusual shape with our legs. So this is a really great stretch for the hips, into the hamstrings and also into the knees as well. And remember, in yin yoga, we're not engaging in any muscular effort. We're working into the tendons, the ligaments, the cartilage, the fascia of the body. All of those things that we can best work when we're in stillness. And to get out of this pose, we can just relax the legs, open them out, and just start to shuffle them back in towards the centre of the mat. And we're going to come back up to a kneeling position. And from here, we're going to come into a wide-legged child's pose. So this is one where you might want to use your bolster. So you can take that and place that in front of you. And what we'll do is have our knees So we're going to come into a wide-legged child's pose now. So we've got our knees, which are mat width distance apart from each other. The tips of the toes are together and the bum is sitting back into the heels. And this is one where you might want to try your bolster as a way of just bringing the mat closer up to the body. So you can take the bolster and place that just in front of the torso where that's going to drape forward. And then as we're taking the child's pose, we'll just start to drape over the bolster there, and you can just turn one ear to the bolster, keeping the bum on the heels and just feeling that really lovely stretch into the thighs, a little bit into the knees, and then also we're working into the tops of the shoulders, a little bit around the upper arms, back of the neck as well, upper back, as we're taking these arms forward. And just to even up any sensation in the neck, if you had one ear against the bolster at this point or against the floor, you can just turn over to the other side for the second part of the pose. And if you were on your bolster and you had one ear to the prop, just take your head back to center and use the arms to just start to bring yourself back up. No matter what version of the pose you were in, just gently rise back up to your knees, and you can pop the bolster just off to one side for the moment. The next pose we're going to come into is caterpillar pose, and this is probably one of my all-time favorite yin yoga poses. I think the fact that it just does a little bit of everything, it's working into so much of the body all in one, what can appear very simple pose. So we're going to take our legs out long in front of us, and all we're going to be doing in this pose is draping forward over the legs. So just get yourself into a position that feels comfortable for you. Legs can be nice and loose. With this being a yin yoga pose, again, we're not using any muscular effort. We're not going to be pulling the feet to help us to get further down into the pose. Very passive. We're just going to fall down as far as feels comfortable. And I think the great thing about this pose is no matter where you get to at the very beginning, over time, the length of time that we're in this posture, you'll find you'll start to kind of melt a little bit further into the pose as well. So we'll start from a nice upright seated position and then just start to move ourselves forward over the legs and just go as far as feels comfortable for you. And it can be good to just turn the palms up to the ceiling. So you might have the hands on the ground, you might have them on your legs. And just by turning the palms up, it just prevents us feeling like we might want to grab and pull and take ourselves a little bit further. And so much can depend when it comes to how far you're able to go into a caterpillar pose. You'll find that earlier in the morning, you might not be quite so loose, quite so flexible, so you won't go as far. But don't push it. You know, if you're used to going a little further, just relax into wherever you are at this point. If your hamstrings are a little tighter as well, that will prevent you going too far into this pose. But just get to where you are and just sink into it and really enjoy it. And I think what I enjoy the most about this pose is I can feel it working right the way through the body because of the way that we're folding. It's impacting the whole of the posterior chain. So right the way from the base of the skull all the way to the tips of our toes, we're feeling that benefit. And of course, you can always, if you want, use a prop in this pose. You can, use blocks just to have under your forehead maybe, or you can use your bolster, just lay that on the legs and drape over. Entirely up to you. Take your time coming out of this forward fold. Again, and just use your hands to start to walk your upper body back upright. Nice and slowly, nice and gently. And before we move into Shavasana, we've got one more pose that we're going to come into, and we're going to come down onto our backs. And there's a couple of ways that you can do this pose. So we're going to go into reclining butterfly on our backs this time. And you can either come down all the way onto the mat, or you can use your bolster just to give yourself a little bit of a gentle back bend with this as well. So I'm going to use my bolster for this one. So I'm going to take it so that it's maybe a couple of inches away from the base of the spine, and just let myself lower over the top of that bolster. And just take a moment to make sure that you're comfortable, that the upper body feels supported by the bolster. And then we can focus on our legs. So bringing the knees up, taking the soles of the feet together, and then letting the knees just relax to the sides. If you find that your knees are quite a way off the floor, that can sometimes pull a little bit too much into the hip flexors and into the inner thighs. So if that's the case, you can always pop a block just under each knee, just to give that a little bit of extra support if needed. And then just relax onto your bolster, relax the legs. And if you'd like to just increase the intensity slightly in this pose, just give a bit more of a full body stretch. You can take the arms over the head, clasp the elbows, and that'll give us a lovely stretch into the upper back, a little bit into the chest, the upper arms. And just relax into this pose. There's nothing else to do here other than relax. If you had the arms clasped above your head, just gently release those down. Melt the arms back down by your sides, and we'll move into Shavasana. So we can extend the legs out again. You can just remove the bolster from under your back. What can feel quite nice, particularly as we've done quite a lot of work on the lower body in this practice, is just to pop a bolster or a cushion or a pillow just under the knees as we come into Shavasana. That can just feel so nourishing, so soothing after all of the work that we've done. And then just lay back down onto your mat. Feel free to use any other props that you've got to hand. If you want to get cozy under a blanket, pop a little pillow under the head, anything you want. And let's just enjoy what we've done here this morning and take this time just to reflect on where we started, where we are now. Arms can come to the sides, palms facing up. And this is your opportunity to completely let go before this practice comes to an end. And I'd recommend, staying in Shavasana for as long as you'd like. You can extend this Shavasana by 10, 15 minutes, whatever feels good for you, whatever time you have, just to really let the body feel everything from this practice and get the full benefit of what you've done today. Thank you so much for joining me here on the mat today. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope to see you back here for another great Glen Yoga sequence very soon.